Okay, everybody, we are going to be glazing today. You guys have a handmade extreme pinch pot. Here is mine. Before we glaze, what we need to do is make sure that there are no impurities on top of the surface. So I'm going to make a quick rinse. You don't need to watch this part, Trey. Just put the sink on lightly, and I'm going to give it a quick rinse. It's pretty amazing how fast it soaks up the water. You're going to see it's going to go from shiny to not shiny in just a little tiny bit. We have Ronick stirring up the glaze. We need to stir. Every person needs to stir the glaze every time before you use it. The silica, the sand in the glaze, likes to sink to the bottom. So what Ronick is doing is he's scraping the sides, he's scraping the bottom. This happens to be Art Deco Green. This is a sample of it. I need to make new samples of it. I'm actually working with the company that makes the glazes to show me actual little tiles. So we'll have an actual little clay tile on the side of the bucket. All right, I think we're good, Ronick. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let that drip, good. Put it on the cover. There are three main ways to glaze: dipping, pouring, and applying with the brush, okay? So I'm gonna use just this color. You can use multiple colors as long as you let your project dry in between colors. So I'm only gonna use one color for the sake of time. So I'm going to dip. Now, the bottom of my project gets no glaze. So what you're gonna do with your pencil, I'm doing it with the Sharpie, you're gonna do this with the pencil, is you're gonna put your finger along the bottom and you're gonna mark all the way around. The pencil, this is actually kind of a little bit of an experiment too, because your pencil line burns off in the kiln. The graphite burns off. I'm curious to see what happens with the Sharpie. I've never done that before. So that is where you're gonna hold it if you're going to dip. Remember, you don't have to dip. You can dip, pour, or brush, and you'll see the difference in a little bit. So remember, give it a quick whisk right before you use it. Get that silica up into the glaze. And go right up to that line, and then I'm gonna pull it out. Okay? It doesn't take very long for it to soak into the clay body, and it'll go from shiny to matte in just a little bit. M-A-T-T, matte. It's the type of surface that it has. All right, so you see that air got trapped on the inside. So if you wanted to switch to a different color, you could. And you would pour the inside. So I'm gonna keep the same color. You could switch the color. Wait till it's done being shiny. There's a little bit of shine right here. Since I'm using the same color, I don't need to wait for it to dry all the way. If you were to go to a different location, let's say you went from Art Deco Green to Bananarama, which is what color?
Yellow.
Yellow. You would want to make sure it's totally dry. And oh, there, I'm all dry. So now I'm gonna pour the inside. We're gonna put one of these cups, they're located behind me on the shelf. 1 cup per color, so there'll be 3 tools. There'll be what's this?
Whisk.
A whisk, a cup, and a brush. So I'm filling it up. This part has to go fast. You wanna do this in like 10 seconds or less. If you let the glaze sit in the bottom of your project for too long, it'll get too much glaze and it won't mature in the kiln. All right, I got all the inside, so I dump it out. I'm actually done at this point. If I missed a little spot someplace, I could pick up the brush and I could fill it. This little drip right here, don't worry about it. It'll kind of melt into the rest of the glaze. Glaze is not what?
Paint.
It is not paint, so colors don't mix. So if you were gonna use Bananarama, which is yellow, and then you were gonna go over and use Rust Red, for example, red and yellow with glaze don't make what secondary color? Orange. It doesn't make orange, it doesn't work that way. When you've had yours is all the way glazed, you need to double, triple, quadruple check that there's not one drop on the bottom. 1 drop will cause it to stick to the kiln shelf inside the kiln. That's 1 drop. That's 1 drop. That's 1 drop. This is somebody who used way, way, way too much glaze. They probably dipped it. They're like, oh, I didn't do a very good job. So they re-dipped it again. It doesn't look nice. Re-dipped it again. Well, what that happens is it turns into lava and it runs down the side of your project and it ends up on the shelf. You get 1 layer. Questions with glazing? Ronick.
How do you do where this part is?
This gets no glaze.
Like over here.
This gets no glaze.
Oh.
It gets no glaze. Let me show you something real quick. I left it about a finger's width because it's gonna run a little bit. And I need to leave some space for it to run so it doesn't get all the way to the bottom or it'll stick to the shelf. My friend Olivia made this pot. She only didn't glaze this part right here. Why? Because she's made thousands of pots. So she knows this glaze only is gonna go exactly where she puts it because she put such a thin layer of it. Your 5th graders, you probably haven't made more than 5 pots in your life. So we're gonna use a finger's width. Other questions? Colin.
What happens if it goes past the line?
If you go a little bit past it, no big deal. I went a little bit past it right here, but we need to leave that finger's width. We really do. In the past, I used to do 2 fingers with 5th graders. All right, if you happen to have a dot or 2 on the bottom, you're gonna walk over to the sink. You're gonna get a sponge from the sponge bucket. You're gonna get it wet. You're gonna wring it out. You're not gonna drip across the floor. You're gonna carefully pick up your project and wipe off using the circle motion and make sure it's nice and clean. Show 2 students that it's nice and clean, and then it goes back on the shelf and you're super patient because we already talked about this one. Repeat after me. I will be patient regarding my functional clay form.
I will be patient regarding my functional clay form.
All right, great job, Trey. You can hit stop.